thank you so much for taking the time to speaking with me and for arranging for this talk. We have people trickling in, but I thought I would start, and I would start by introducing yourself, by reading your bio, and then we can take it from the presentation you sent me. How does that sound?
Perfect.
Okay. So, Cristina Umaña Durán, born in 1993, Bogotá, Colombia, is an interdisciplinary artist whose practice encompasses textiles, drawing, installation, sculpture, and performance. Her work explores the inner human body, investigating how it processes emotions and perceives time. She studied art history and fine arts at Universidad de los Andes in Bogotá before transferring to the School of Art Institute of Chicago, where she earned a Bachelor of Fine Arts in 2017. In 2024, she completed the SOMA educational program in Mexico City. Her work has been exhibited at Espacio Dion in Bogotá, ARTBO, the Bogotá International Art Fair, which is a TAAS partner, and Cristina is here as a fellow from that organization. SOMA, Mexico City, Chroma, Mexico City, Salon Acme, number 11 in Mexico City, El Terreno in Guanajuato, Photospace in Bogotá, Galeria Casas Hiene in Bogotá, Polícroma Galeria in Medellín, Cachorra, Bogotá, Galeria SGR in Bogotá, El Arenero in Mexico City, Eli Center of Contemporary Art in New Haven, and Green Door Gallery in Chicago, among others. She is currently an artist in residence at the Bemis Center for Contemporary Arts in Omaha, Nebraska, and in 2020 she was nominated for the Young Arts Bolsenitas Award in Bogotá, Colombia, and in 2023 for the Sara Modiano Foundation Prize. She has participated in residencies, including the Sputnik Press Cooperative in Chicago in 2017, Proyecto Navi in Ecuador 2019, and Acre Residency in Wisconsin 2022. I'll paste Christina's bio in the chat for everyone who wants to check anything, get to know more organizations, and get more research to her work. But for now, that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
And
much.
I'll share my
Thank you.
screen. And let me know if you can see that, because I can't see you while I share the screen. That's a little annoying that way. 1 second. Can you see that?
Now, yes.
Is it full screen now?
Yes. No, we still see the border.
No? Oh, I guess it only is full screen for me then. So let me go back. We have to do it this way then. I apologize. I don't think there's another option for this.
No problem.
Okay.
Okay, so thank you very much, Daura, for that introduction, and I'm very happy to be here today, sharing my work. I chosen some projects that I would like to talk a little bit more in depth. And feel free to ask any questions. I'm happy to make this also like a conversation. So as you were saying, I am from Colombia, but I live in Mexico City. And I would want to start with saying that I started as studying art history, and then I decided to do the dual career program. So I was doing art and art history in a moment that for me was very strange in terms of time. And maybe if you want to go to the next slide. Because I felt that my time was was the notion of time was something that was very hard for me. So when I started to study art history and art, my sister got sick, very, very sick. And when I was in the middle of the career, she passed away. So that for me it has been like, of course, like a very like pivotal point in my life. And in that moment was the moment that I decided to transfer to Chicago, to the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. And I want to start with this project that is called No hay tiempo, which in English is There's no time, in which I was portraying all this like anxiety and fear that time was giving me, because I was like, if there's a lot of time passing, I am gonna miss her so much. But if there's no time passing, then I cannot deal with this in my head anymore. So it was like a struggle, a continuous struggle. So if you wanna change the screen. So this drawing is part of a project that is called No hay tiempo. And as you see in the middle, there's like a little clock and it says No hay tiempo. And this drawing I made it in Chicago. One time when I was doing a project using screen printing on fabric, and I was waiting in the line for the screen reclaiming area, and I was just very, very anxious about time and all the things that I had to do. So you see to the left, it says hoy, which means today, and I was writing a list of all the things that I had to do that day. And I did all this drawing in Sharpie, just like using Sharpie and a big piece of paper that I had in the studio. And I was just writing everything that I had to do, and then that writing became this monster drawing, everything that was going on in my head at the same time. And then I was like, okay, so if I'm doing this with all the things that I have to do, this list of all the things that I have to do, and I have this anxiety related with time, why don't I change time? So these drawings that for me are very fast to make. I like them to be very dynamic. What if I make it very, very, very slow? So I took that drawing and I transferred to a screen for screen printing, and then I would transfer every single color. Now, if you want to go back, I transfer every single color as a monotype, line by line by line by line by line. So what I'm trying to say is like I'm very interested in playing with all these notions of time, when time feels like fast or quick, while other times time feels that expands and feels that time can be like never ending. I thought I was never gonna finish this drawing. Every single color that you see different is screen printed, so it was a lot of work, and it comes from a drawing that was again very fast. And this is a monotype on cotton that is called No hay tiempo. And now if you want to change, this is part of this series of fabric that I was doing, thinking on the relationship of time and all these creatures that like help me get rid of time. So these are two curtains, and I like the idea of curtains, also this idea of like isolating from what is behind the window behind. Like you can create your own like world, and I wanted to create like my own world in terms of I felt that I was very fragile in that time. So I wanted to just like kind of like cover like the curtains with like my world. So these fabrics are all hand dyed, and you see the words that are written are months. And I showed this in the pandemic, which was also very interesting, that it makes so much sense in terms of like time was like passing but not passing. It was like very fast but at the same time very slow. So for example, you see in the yellow one, you see that there's like a plant that is like increasing and decreasing. It comes from 20 to 10 to 70. So it's like these things of like they're alive and not alive. There's these like creatures that have legs or teeth or technology. So that's what I was thinking in this series. If you want to go to the next slide. This is a group show that these pieces were part of. So to the right, you see like the big No Hay Tiempo, and in the middle, you see the two curtains that I was talking about. Okay, then I want to talk about this project that I did in a residency in Ecuador, in a small town close to Quito that is called Guayabamba. And this is a drawing that I really like because it's like when you are in a residency, kind of like where I am right now, you feel sometimes like alienated in terms of like you are doing the same things every day, or you're like in a new space. So I like to draw how I inhabit that space and how I relate that with time. So I would have like my bed, which says cama, the bathroom, the shower. Then I have like a place in the dining table, and then my studio. And I will do that every single day, like that movement. So if you want to change. So I decided this project that is called Furniture to Look at the Sky. And this residency was very interesting because it was in this like farm, but it was not only a farm, it was like a place where they cultivate. They have a lot of flowers that they actually export from Ecuador to United States. So it was, yes, like a flower farm. Let me call it that way. And that big house that you see back there, the White House, was where was the place where the residents we will live. And they will have like some like an area where artists, we can do whatever we want. We can use any material that we want. So basically they have like a lot of like scraps of the flowers, or like materials that broke, or things like that. And I was going through that materials, and I found this furniture. I love the form and the shape. It's very strange that they use it for actually for putting the flowers like to packaging, so they don't have to go all the way to the floor. But at the same time, they breathe, like the flowers can breathe. And I saw it was exactly my size, and I laid down in this like furniture that they had, and I was like, oh my God, I cannot do anything else but look at the sky. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm going to look at the sky. I'm going to contemplate. I'm going to just be here. So I decided that every day that I had left during the residency, that was a month, I would pick up this furniture, and I would lay down and look at the sky. No timer, no cell phone, no clock, no nothing. Like when I felt that I had seen like enough, I will pause. But I wanted to feel and to grasp other ideas of time. I wanted to understand, how do I feel time in my body, or how can I just get rid of those things about time. So if you want to go to next slide. So this is a video of a friend who was part of the residency, that I asked her if she could like record me whenever she wants during the residency, to know, to have like a little register of these processes, this performance that I would have done a lot. And I really like also that this becomes kind of like a bed that is kind of transparent. I don't know, I feel that now it only has this utility of like laying down and contemplating the sky. Okay, so this is another project. Oh yes, and wait, I want to make like maybe a note that you see that all my projects start from drawing, and that's because they always start from there. Like drawing, I would say, is the medium that feels so like natural and important to me, but at the same time, yes, like I'm always drawing. Drawing is always how I start to think. So this project, if you want to change to the next one, is called When the Shadow Comes Out, that in Spanish is Cuando Salga la Sombra. And this is a project that I did in Bogotá, in a space that is very interesting, because they will give you a show for only 1 week. So when I went to this space, I was very attracted to the shadows that they come through the windows. And again, like with this idea of trying to hold time or trying to understand time in a different way, what I decided to do, if you want to change to the next one, is that I dyed all this fabric that I had, that I was like used, bed sheets, t-shirts, a lot of this kind of textile material, and I created. I mean, I covered the entire gallery space. There is like this big room. I covered it entirely with this pink fabric, hand-dyed pink fabric. And because the exhibition was only during 1 week, what I would do is that every single day during that week, I would go and I would bleach the entrance of the sun that was coming through the window. So I feel that this project is an idea of like holding into time. Like I feel no, I have the time that entered through that window during this week of April, if I'm not wrong, of 2021. I have it. Like I can hold time, I can grasp time, I can freeze time, and that is something that I've been really wonder, and I really wanted to stop time, especially when you are in such a deep like mourning process of having like of losing my sister. Like I felt like I wanted to stop time for a minute, and maybe I didn't stop it, but now I have it. I feel like I can grasp it. So if you want to go to the next slide. There are some photos of me during that 1 week that I was using bleaching the fabric during every single day. And so I would go early in the morning and just leave at the end of the day. The good thing is that in Colombia we don't have a season, so we always have sun from 6 in the morning to 6 p.m. But because of the orientation of this of the gallery, they will receive the sun from the afternoon. So I will arrive there like around 11 and leave like around 5 to make sure that I would get the shadows that were part of that entered to the space. If you want to continue. And also this idea that it was like holding the entire space felt kind of like it was kind of like a body, that you were like inside this like uterus, you were like inside of this body of time. I would say maybe it would be like a body of time. And this is also a good time to maybe mention that for me, space is also very important. I also feel that space is another like material that I use. Like, yes, like in this project, what worked because it was in this space where the sun was entering and the windows, and like space is a material that I like to work with all the time. Yeah, this is another close-up, so you see like sometimes it would just like change slightly, so I would just have to run with my bleach pen and just like keep bleaching the entrance of the sun. Okay, so there's this other project. This project I made it in Mexico City in 2023. It's called Un Reguero, which in English would be a mess. And here I was thinking about time in a different way. I mean, like, how do you feel time inside your body, and how do we carry time? And I was thinking, of course, in digestion, and when we digest something, sometimes takes more time than other time. But I was also interested in this idea of the weight that we carry inside. So this is the first sketch that I did. I wanted to create, if you want to change to the next slide, I wanted to create this installation. And my idea is to create these stomachs. I call them stomachs. I designed these like 4 stomachs, just like the cows, just like animals that have to digest and digest and digest, so that the digestion feels kind of like endless. And basically my question was how I'm going to digest something that feels indigestible. So at least I need 4 stomachs to see if I can really digest that. So inside of these 4 stomachs, there are rotten oranges that were rotten for a month. So all the liquid and all the fluids are trapped there. I would just get them from in the markets in Mexico. I will ask for like rotten oranges, and they were looking at me like, "What? Why do you want that?" So I would be like holding bags until I got this amount of oranges. And I'm thinking also oranges as well, they're very acid, just as our digestive system. But also this image that when my sister had her first surgery, the doctor said that her tumor was the size of an orange. So this image of carrying an orange and how many oranges and like this weight, the specific weight and this specific size and form really stuck in my head. So these oranges were here for a long time, for a month. If you want to change to the next one. So they were horrible. I mean, they had a lot of like mold, and all the juices were very disgusting. There were worms and all these kind of like microorganisms. So again, another way of dealing with time. This is also this part that is the photo of me holding this bag was part of a performance that I did, in which I just clean all the mess that all the oranges have made with my body. So it's like I am cleaning my own mess, which is all that is inside of me. And then there was this video of an endoscopy that I have to go every single year, because I do have a like something inside my esophagus. So I asked the doctor if I could record it, and she's very excited that I talk about digestive system problems. And so it was this video of the tube going like very fast into my esophagus, and the audio, that is the original audio of the doctor telling me like, "Cristina, please swallow. Cristina, please swallow. Cristina, please swallow. Cristina, please swallow." So it's kind of like I'm swallowing and swallowing and swallowing and swallowing all these oranges, all these weights. It's just like this idea of swallow and swallow and swallow and swallow. So it was a little frantic installation, because it was the audio of the doctor telling me to swallow, and at the same time these oranges being rotten, and me like cleaning with my body. So if you want to go to the next slide, this is how ugly, no, not ugly, but maybe disgusting the oranges were. So it was, yeah, and I paint them black, so when the time has passed, they start to peel and they start, yes, to decompose. The smell was also very acid, it was very strong, but I was also interested in that rawness. You want to change to the next one? And these are some photos of the performance that I did the last day that the oranges were gonna be there. So I was like carrying my own weight in these 4 stomachs that I was inventing, and then I was just cleaning all the juices. And if you see the first 2 to the left, the floor had like this very deep stain, and I thought it was like my stomach like taking out all these juices. So that's what it took me a long time to actually clean it with my entire body. Oh yes, wait, sorry. And if you see the one before, yes, when I'm standing in the last one, what I'm wearing is I made with mop. I made with mop my own like gut. I made like a gut. I use a technique that is called coiling, in which I created this like gut you made out of mop. So with that, it was that I mopped myself with my own guts. I was cleaning my own mess that was made by my stomachs. So there's a writing also about this text. I think that writing has also become a very important medium to me. And this like fiction, this idea that I'm this other creature, but I'm also me at the same time. Okay, so this project is the one that the Alternative Art School has shown on Instagram and media. So I was thinking maybe I will go a little deep a little more in this project. This was the original drawing that I did for the next slide. This project was done in 2023 in a gallery in Mexico that is just closed, but it was called El Arenero. And if you want to change to the next one. And it started, that big installation started again with drawing, with this like saying that we have in Colombia, that is tragar sapos, which means in English swallowing frogs. So we use this expression when you are forced to deal with something that you don't want to deal. Saying like a politician got elected that you don't want, or it's raining and you are like, I don't want it to rain today, or for example, in my case, like to deal with the death of somebody that I didn't want to deal with. It's just like you have to swallow the frog, like there's nothing else you can do. So I did like this very literal drawing about like swallowing frogs, and like imagining how it would be like to actually swallow a frog. But then out of the literal, if you want to move to the next, I was interested in the feeling, or what does it mean to actually swallow something that you don't want to swallow, and how it would look like, how my body would look like to deal with all this idea of the frog that I had to swallow. So this is a floor plan of the gallery space. It was very, very big. It was 33 meters long. It was in a basement that it was actually underneath a building, like a huge building in Mexico City, and this would be like the basement of it. So it was like a long, like the ceiling was short, was just very short, but still was very long to space. So I was like, okay, if I'm thinking about this feeling and about the sensation of that I had to swallow a frog, how would be my digestive system to all the frogs that we have to swallow? So I decided to design this body that is made again with 4 stomachs. You can see that there are these like 4 circles, and these stomachs have become this kind of like monster or creature that starts to expand the space. If you go on to the next one, so I just did this like small maquette after I bought like only 1 meter of fabric. I did this maquette, and you see it has like a little hole, and it was just like blowing, and it was like, okay, if this works in this tiny scale, it must work in a bigger scale. So I want to go to the next one. So this is how I started to work. So it's the same drawing, but to the left, the one with the numbers, I was thinking like, okay, if I'm going to do this, the size of the gallery, that's 33 meters, I want it to be 27, so it has a little room to people to walk around, but it still is pretty similar to the size of the space. And what I would do is like I divided the different like sections that I will have to sew all together. So maybe I'm just showing how I think and how I work. If you want to go to the next one. And this again is how I work. It's very drawing all the time for me. It's drawing, even though it's sculpture, even though it's installation, it's drawing. And I also wanted to show this picture because how space is also material. Like it was amazing to have the chance to work right there in the space, because I could really feel how big the body I wanted to be, or how the drawing would like expand and work. So how I pretty much made this was, I call it the empanada style. So it was 2 layers, one underneath the other above, and then I would just use the sewing machine to sew it together. You wanna go? So this is me sewing. The first one was doing like a little sample, and I was like, okay, it's working. So imagine it took me it was like a month of work of only sewing all of these. So this is the first time that this project was shown. Tragar Sapos was shown in El Arenero. And now I want to talk about the time aspect, or the air aspect of the project. So I was always very stuck about apnea. My sister, she had apnea before she died. For like half hour, she would, like the final half hour, maybe 1 hour, she was stopping to breathe for like 7 to 10 minutes, and then she would breathe again, and it would be like a long exhalation, and then like no breathing. So it was this like tension time of that we were like, is she alive? She died. It was like this time of the fragility about that air gives us, is like air was giving us the clue that she was still alive. So I was always very stuck by this idea of pausing and then so if there's air, there's life. That's what we thought when we were in the hospital with her, with my family. It was like, if there's air, she's still alive. And so in this project, I want to recreate it, that feeling and that also that fragility of the body, but also that relationship with air and apnea. So if there's no air, the fabric is just gonna be fabric. It's just gonna be a piece of fabric hanging. But if there's air, it starts to become a body. It's going to inflate. It's going to turn into something that is alive. I wanted to create a body that was alive. So these photos I really like to show because you can see the difference between one and the other. So when the air compressor had a timer, and the timer will go 7 minutes inflating, 14 minutes deflating. So it was always breathing. And his body, sometimes people would get into the gallery and would be like, oh, something's wrong. And I was like, no, it's not wrong. It's just part of it. And you will see kind of like how unperceivable it would be, like moving, deflating. And then again, it would be inflating again. So next to the next one, I just put this in relationship to scale. And if you want to change to the next one, you'll see that there are some people in this photo, which I really like. And how you enter the gallery, it will be like the title, and then immediately you will be like, you will jump to the installation, and people could go and walk all the way through it in between. And again, there will be the sound of the air, just like woo. And when it stopped, like there was no sound, and you could feel and you could see that the body was like breathing all the time. So yes, the one before was the first time I showed it, and then I was invited to be a part of this exhibition that is called Salon Acme, which is actually an open call exhibition that they make every year in Mexico City, and because of the dimensions of the piece. In this time, the space was not as open as long, and people can just not work on it. But I really like that here is just like this body that feels like trapped. So it's this body that is not only want to digest and is not only breathing, but it's also trying to get out of there. So it's another feeling, and I really like how this came out, especially because space is a material that I use constantly. Here it looks like it's another piece. Actually, people would ask me constantly, like, did you make it again? It's like, no, it's the same one. But just the space and the way it's just like placed make it such a different experience. In this one, just because it was an art fair, it was very hard to do the breathing mechanism. So during the gallery, that during the times that the gallery was open, it was on, and at night it would deflate. So you couldn't see this breathing aspect as in the other place. But it was like something that they requested. And that made sense also because in terms of like people were just like walking very fast. It's an art fair, so it has another quality. But still, I was also interested in this idea of the body being compact. This is the same work, but this is shown in Bogotá during Artbo. And actually, after showing this work, I got the membership to the Alternative Art School. So thank you for that. And again, this space is very different. This is a convention center that they do Artbo every year. If you want to change. So the space was very strange in terms of like, yes, it has like this like carpet, like booths, like there was a lot of art all over. So I had to find a way that to feel that that the digestive system had some sort of life in its own corner. Do you want to change? So this is a photo taken from the fourth floor, something like that. And you could see that this hand was trying to escape this room. In this one, you could see the breathing mechanism all the time. So sometimes the hand would be just like a piece of fabric, and then it would be like a body. So it was breathing, and I think that was also very appealing in terms of like in a fair where everything feels like so fast and so money oriented maybe. Here it was like this body that is just like taking its own time to breathe, stop, to just exist in time in such a different way. So this is another shot. It's very interesting and very different. That it looks like a kind of like a mall. Okay, and this is the fourth time that I've been showing this project. In this one, it was in Querétaro, in Mexico, and this is a fair that they do in November. This is the eighth version of it, and they did it this year in this like building that is under construction. And they gave me this very big space, and I also was thinking in this space being like hold together, but I also like the idea that people can just like walk around and just feel this body that is constantly breathing. So I want to show this like 4 different ways this project has been shown, and again how space and materiality feel so different. This is how it was when it was deflated. Like another angle. And this is how it was at night. This body with its own life, yeah. And this is the final project that I was working last year. This one. This is the first sketch I did. If you want to go to the next slide. So this is a fountain, and I've been thinking about fountains again with the relationship about time, because fountains feel that they're kind of like endless, like they're just like taking out water, like spitting water all over, like they're like cyclical, repetitive, the action of just like just being there. And I also like the relationship between fountains and the body in terms of like like spitting or taking out, or swallowing. The fountain can be also this mechanism that is like swallow. So here I was thinking about swallow, and all the things that we have to swallow, all the things that we do swallow all the time, that is like, it feels like you don't want to swallow it. So I designed this fountain. If you want to go to the next one, that has the title on it. No, the one before. It has a long title. Oh my God, my face is on top of the title, but I have it here. I can read it.
I can read for you. I have
Yes.
it here. It says device used to expel water in gardens, homes, streets, and squares, or an open ulcer meant to drain pus.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. So that name, there are two definitions from the dictionary that appear when you look for fountain. So it's like I was so very interested in this idea of an open ulcer meant to drain pus. So this idea of like taking out, of opening. So I designed this fountain in which there is this fabric that is hanging in this patio, and then there's a water bomb that is in this like metal structure, and that is plugged into this very long 40-meter hose, and the hose is into this like microphone stand, and in the microphone stand there's the hose like head, and then it would go to the textiles. So it's a circuit. It's always recycling the water. It's always unrepeatedly just like going. And I was also very interested in this idea of like swallowing. So the fabric is not hand dyed, but it's a fabric that after all this time of having the water in the same spot, it started to fade. So you see that the hose has this like orange color, and that's because is the color of the fabric that is fading with time. So it's another way of like looking the passage of time, which I'm like very interested in portraying that feeling. So if you want to go to the next one, there's two close-ups. So to the left we see the water, and I also like this idea of that is in a microphone stand, because microphones are like places where you like actually speak, but here you're there to like swallow. And to the right, the hose with all the color that was very orangey. And then I did a performance with this piece in which we did with my two peers that are gonna appear in the next photo. We did a performance in which we will do like a circuit of actions that we will do for like 10 minutes each. So I was swallowing water for 10 minutes, and it will hurt my throat and my tongue, my mouth. And this idea of doing something that feels also very relieving. Like I'm just like taking out and just like cleaning myself, swallowing. So if you want to go to the next one, these are some of the actions that I did with Galia Ibenschutz and Alex Escobedo. For example, Galia, you see that she's standing and she just has the water in her heart, and this piece is called Relief. So she had to relieve a lot of things like going on in her heart. So the water was like going obsessively into her heart. For me was my mouth, and for Alex was the cleaning aspect of it. He just wanted to clean up the water, and he was cleaning. So we have like some movements arranged. And it was very interesting to work with them and to also have this relationship to what our bodies are feeling. So I think this is pretty much what I prepared for today, like for 5 or 6 projects that I feel that I've been working on, and that have like a line of what I am still interested in, that is dealing with time and body and breathing, swallowing, and repeatedly actions that the body is doing constantly. Yes, so I am happy to hear any questions or commentaries that anyone has.
Yes, thank you so much for sharing all of that. I won't start with my questions, but I do have questions, and everyone, please drop yours in the chat. We have a comment from Luz Merlin saying that she loves drawing sketches and they're very relatable. She's also feeling the pain and sorry for your loss, and that this is all very brave. And I would second that with my whole heart. It's incredible work, and thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
I do have a comment. It's interesting to see, because of course I was familiar with your work from researching to have this talk, but at the same time it's interesting to see how you build that and how it starts in a way where it's about time, and it's still about time, but at the same time it gets more bodily. I feel like by the second project I start feeling the presence of the body, and a lot more, especially in the last few projects. Is that something you see as well? Is it something you think about when making the work? Yes.
Yeah, so I feel like it's more like something that will come and go. Like I think that my work, I have like a triangle. If a triangle of three words that I think that I use in my work is like time, body, and mourning or grief. And sometimes there are projects that are more like into time and grief. Sometimes it's more like mourning and body. Sometimes, but I think that the three of them are always important.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think that it depends on where you are, right? Like in that moment. For example, right now, 10 years have passed since my sister died, and sometimes I feel like a little trapped again, like talking about these things. So I'm talking more about like my body and how I deal with things, you know, like kind of like not getting rid of it. I cannot get rid of that, but maybe the grief point of the triangle is like less present. So it depends on the project. In some, I really prefer to be more related to time than the body, and that's how I'm right now. Actually, I'm working in this project in which I'm thinking more about time and productivity and what that means, and what does it mean also to be on vacation, and like sure. So in this time, I'm thinking more about time in like not like in a different relationship with the body.
Yes, that makes total sense. And I feel like even though it's from your personal experience, I feel like it's a little bit about experiencing that on the body, and that's something that a lot of people can relate. I definitely can relate. We have the same saying in Portuguese about swallowing frogs, so there's a lot of overlap there for sure. We do have a couple of questions here from Colette and Klaus. Colette says that it's a very inspirational talk and work. Thank you for being so forthcoming with how the work relates to your personal experiences with loss. And she is interested in how the objects are embodied and serve as a surrogate for the human body in your work. If you could speak a little bit more to that.
Embody. Yes, I feel like I try to relate to my experience of what happened to me, and I feel that objects help me to show that. You know what I mean? Like the oranges is like I felt that my sister was carrying so much oranges inside of her, so that's how I was like I need to put these oranges being rotten. Like she kind of like her liquids and she exploded because of the amount of tumor. So I for me the objects making art is like portraying that feeling. It's about like a feeling. Like before I was working, for example, with natural fibers like bed sheets that are cotton. But for example, for the inflatable, I need plastic because I needed to inflate. So again, like this object had to embody a certain feeling that was to be breathing all the time. So I would say like materials often change depending on what I am thinking and what I would like the experience to be. Yeah.
Yes,
And
thank you.
yeah.
And there's a question from Klaus. If can you speak to the relationship of art and psychology in your work a little bit further?
Wow, that's a good question. So I yes, I think that there was a moment that I felt that there was not reason, but like I felt so trapped in my own head, especially with this idea of time. I was so nervous, so anxious. I was studying my psychology as soon as my sister died. I was 20 years old also. I was telling the psychologist, like the therapist, like, time cannot pass. I cannot be older than my sister. My sister was older than me. I cannot deal with this. I cannot. Like it felt like kind of like paralyzing. So I think that when I started to just work on this and making, like writing how I felt and drawing how I felt and created these bodies that can have like mouths that be like shouting or screaming or telling these other things that were going inside, is when I just like started to actually feel like, oh, this was honest to me and this is how I really feel. So I think that the relationship between art and psychology is completely, especially in my case. Sometimes, and I have also to be honest, sometimes you get a little like, not bored, but as I was telling you, it has already passed 10 years. So of course, my feeling that I was feeling the first 2 years is completely different what I'm feeling right now. But I think that is also part of, I work with what I have is basically my my slogan. So if I'm feeling this way, that's how I'm feeling and that's how I'm working with. And maybe this experience taught me that I try to relate the psychology in my art, like how I'm feeling is how I'm working.
Yes, yes, that makes a lot of sense, especially in the short time we got to see your artist book and your notebook and all of your notes, because I can read a little bit of Spanish, so I was already collecting your thoughts on that. So thank you. We
Yeah.
have a question from Julie saying that grief is so personal and universal. As I get older, I feel there's always grief, and I'm so impressed with the work and its trajectory. Can you unpack how some of the opportunities came about? I assume she's asking about open calls, invitations, a little bit more about your artist trajectory.
Yes. So for example, the first gallery where I showed the big inflatable, that was an invitation, because she didn't have an artist. Like she got canceled. An artist canceled her, and she was like, "Can you have a solo show here in a month?" And I was like, "I'm doing it." Like I was really looking for a solo show in Mexico City, and when she told me that, I was like, "This is my chance," and that's how it worked, honestly. And then everything has been very like organic, I would say. Um, so yes, it was just like I applied to this Salon Acme, I got accepted, and then after that I applied to Artbo and I got accepted. So I think once you have a piece of work, I just like apply to a bunch of different places and see how the path or the life it would have. Um, yeah,
Yes.
that's how I think. Thank you so much for being here and for the questions. And I hope that my accent was still easy to understand.
No, it's totally understandable. Don't worry about that at all. We're global, so we have people with all sorts of accents. Look at me.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for being here, for sharing your work, for being generous with your practice and with us.